So I think you will be there in the final list.
I hope so, sir.
You'll do well.
May I come in, sir?
Please come. Shishir, please take a seat.
Good afternoon, sir.
Shishir, you are from Balia.
Yes, sir.
Your mother comes from Devariya.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. I'll request my colleague
Yeah.
first to take over.
Thank you. Thank you, Sajal. Shishir, you're a petroleum engineering graduate from Dhanbad,
Yes.
IIT Dhanbad, right?
Yes.
You passed out in 2016,
Yes.
and maths is your optional.
Yes.
Did you work post your graduation
Yes,
anywhere?
sir. I worked for 1 year as a marketing analytics professional in Bangalore, sir.
Okay, marketing analytic professional. Okay, all right. Now, if you can talk a little bit about your petroleum
Yes, sir.
engineering. In a refinery, for example, once you with crude petroleum as a feed raw material, and in the distillation column, you will have at different levels various cuts, as they call it in the technical parlance,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes.
So beginning from bottom, right,
Yes.
up to the top level, which are the different grades of products which are taken off at different levels?
So from the bottom to top, we get different products such as C80, C70, C60 up to the C.
That's purely
Yes.
technical, but in commercial
Yes.
terms, which
In-
are the products which
In
you
normal terms, we
get? Do you get
call-
heavier products at the bottom?
Yes,
In
the
the dis-
heavier products at the bottom and the lighter products at the top.
So how many are there in a typical distillation column?
So it depends on the refinery, but usually we get asphalt and bitumen at the bottom.
Okay.
Above that we collect diesel, sir. Above that we collect kerosene. Above that we collect gasoline or petrol. Above that we collect gases such as propane, butane, ethane, and methane at the tops.
All right. So these are the and what concept it is based on?
So it is based on the concept of fractional distillation, sir.
All right.
So can I explain it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. In fractional distillation, what happens is when the product is releasing the vapors of the lightest weight will rise to the top, and the heavier vapors and liquids will collect at the bottom, sir. And then we reduce the temperature so they will get condensed and get removed from the cuts that are there, sir.
All right. Good. And what is the approximate composition in terms of percentage if you start talking from the basic raw material, crude petroleum? How much percentage you expect heavier fractions, different fractions? Is there any? Of course, it will depend on the grade of the crude petroleum.
Yes, sir.
But still, roughly, can you tell us the composition? How much percentage you will get?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware about
You're
this.
not aware. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Where would you get? What fraction naphtha will come from? Which naphtha?
So naphtha will come just below the diesel fraction, sir, and above the asphalt and bitumen fraction.
Okay. Now tell me, what are the different applications of naphtha as a raw material?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of
Okay. It's a very critical ingredient or raw material for most of the petrochemical products, basically,
Yes.
which you have. Okay. All right. What is the the prevailing price of crude petroleum at the moment?
So the last I checked, it was $73 per barrel for WTI and $80 to $82 per barrel for Brent crude, sir.
And how many liters make a barrel?
So 159 liters will make a barrel.
And how many gallons make a
So
barrel?
42 gallons in one barrel, sir.
All right. Okay. That is may vary from one
Yes.
system to the other one. Now, one last question around petroleum is what is administered price mechanism? Of course, we don't hear so much these days about daily variations in the gasoline price. But what is this administered price mechanism which is put in place for PSUs to follow? What are the different components? It's
So,
gold.
sir, I'm not
You're not
aware
aware,
about
okay. Because there have been variations. The petrol prices may vary from on a daily basis of
Yes.
late, of course. So, anyway, your option was maths, right?
Yes.
So, can you name some of the famous Indian mathematicians and their area of work?
So, I will start chronologically from the ancient times.
Okay.
So, the earlier mathematics treatise in India was Sulva Sutra by Bodhayan, sir.
Okay.
It was based on the geometric construction of the Vedic altars and ritual places, sir.
Great.
After that, sir, there was Aryabhat who gave the mathematical construct of the cosmology, sir, like the movement of sun around the earth and the planetary orbits, sir. After that, sir, there was Brahmgupta who made algebraic contribution about algebraic contribution and the works in the field of cyclic quadrilaterals. Sir. In the modern times, the most famous mathematician of India was Mr. Ramanujam, who made great contributions in the age of 30 years. Sir. And after that,
What was his contribution?
so he gives a lot of theorems in the field of topology and partial differential equations, which are now used in the in the research on black holes and cryptography, so which makes the basis
Essentially, number theory and infinite series.
Yes.
Okay.
And
All
so
right.
right now we have Mr. Manjul Bhargav and Mr. Akshay Venkatesh who have won Fields Medal also. Sir.
Can you name a lady famous mathematician from India?
So Mrs. Shakuntala, sir, he was named as the human calculator, sir.
Okay. Why there is no Nobel Prize in maths?
So I tried to find the reason for it, but all the knowledge that I could gather pointed was that Mr. Alfred Nobel was not that interested in mathematics, and he thought that it would find no real world application, so he didn't institute a prize for mathematics.
That indeed is the reason. Okay. What are the different movies which have been made on the lives of mathematicians, both in India or overseas?
So in overseas, on the life of Mr. Ramanujan, a movie was made, The Man Who Knew Infinity, sir. And in India, recently we made a movie on the Mrs. Sakuntala, who is known as the human calculator, sir. And recently a movie is under production on the human calculators of NASA, sir, who was a group of ladies who used to do orbital calculation by hand back in 1970s. Sir.
Okay. Great. My last question. What is Nobel equivalent for mathematics?
So,
Or which prize is considered as Nobel Prize for mathematics?
So I'm not sure about that. So there are two medals, and both the medals claim that we are the Nobel equivalent of
Which are those?
mathematics. So the Abel's Prize and the Fields Medal. Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shishir, Balia is your home district.
Yes, sir.
एक बड़े फेमस हमारे मॉडर्न पॉलिटिशियन बलिया से थे.
Yes.
उनके बारे में बताएंगे कुछ, क्या किया उन्होंने, कौन थे?
So Honorable Mr. Chandrasekhar was the 8th Prime Minister of Balia, sir. He was also known as Young Turk for his resolute stand on socialistic policies and welfare of people, sir. Also, sir, during his prime ministership, he laid the groundwork for the economic reforms that came in later during the P.V. Narasimha Rao government, sir. And he took a decision for refueling of US airplanes in India, sir, which led to early resolution in Gulf War, sir.
So where does the name Young Turks come from?
So I said I'm not aware about the origin of name, but it was a group of 4 to 5 people of Congress who was pursuing socialistic policies very aggressively at that time, sir.
No, that was a name given to people in the Congress party, including Mr. Chandrasekhar,
Yes.
perhaps Madhu Lemay and others,
Yes.
who were trying to effect change within the party. But where does the name Young Turks come from?
So,
They were not Turks, they were Indians. Why would they be called Turks?
So I'm not completely sure about, but I would like to make an educated guess if you permit, sir.
Please do.
So I think it would have come from the Turkey region when there was modernization after the First World War. So when Mr. Young, I'm forgetting the name, so Mr. Kemal
Ataturk
brought the reforms in the Turkey for modernizing the society, sir.
Yeah. What is happening in Turkey now?
So Turkey is facing a grim earthquake, sir, and after that there is a lot of destruction, sir. So India is taking a lead to provide humanitarian aid to the country, sir.
We're not taking the lead, but we are providing humanitarian aid. And
Yes.
Other countries have also provided.
Yes, sir.
Others may have provided more
Yes,
than that,
it's
but
a
we
collaborative
also,
effort, sir.
we are also providing.
Yes.
Okay. So, you've done a lot. You spent a lot of time in Dhanbad.
Yes.
That's where you went to study. Tell me, is there some concern there that globally coal has been declared a villain,
Yes.
and with climate change, and that you should stop using coal for power production, and so what do you think would happen to all these coal mines and the large employment we have of miners and the whole ecosystem around coal mines, the families, and so what should we be doing about our coal?
So we are making a gradual shift from coal to the green energy sector, sir. These jobs will not dissipate in time. This will slowly, the coal will phase out, sir. In the meantime, when we are creating the green energy infrastructures, we should try to upskill the people in those areas with the skills that will help them find employment in the green energy sector.
But when you suppose you are phasing out coal and you want to close down some coal mines,
Yes, sir.
how do you do that? Isn't that don't they have a fragile geology? Because after all, you dug out a lot of coal
Yes,
from
sir.
under the ground, and then you can't just cap it and leave
Yes.
it. So what do you do?
So to solve the problem of subsidence, what we do whenever we are mining out the coal, we place pillars under the roofs of the mines, so that in future they will support the overland burden and don't collapse.
So I think when we reach that state, people like you, your sort of expert domain knowledge of coal mines and your work in petroleum engineering
Yes.
would be needed. We would need skills like yours.
So I think people with much more skill than me will be needed there. But
Okay,
as
now
a bureaucrat, I can
All right,
facilitate
let me
process,
talk
sir.
to you of your life as a civil servant in UP.
Yes, sir.
Although you have been there only for about a year, a little more than a year.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, what has been your biggest challenge as Deputy Collector of Siddharth Nagar?
So I think the biggest challenge in Siddharth Nagar was providing employment to the people, sir. Because Siddharth Nagar is only based on agricultural economy, sir. There is no other industries that are present there, sir. And people are too afraid of the bureaucracy to share their problems with the civil servants and come and talk to them, sir. So going and earning their trust was also a major problem, sir.
But how is it the responsibility or primarily the responsibility of district administration to provide employment?
So it is not the primary responsibility, but it can help facilitate the generation of employment, sir. Also, there are some schemes of development department in UP, such as NRLM, where the primary goal is to create SHG so that there can be self-employment in the village itself, sir.
So would you say that in your functioning as the Deputy Collector for 1 year in Siddharth Nagar, creating employment or implementation of employment generation schemes has been a major area of work?
So I was there as a trainee, sir. So I was not given any responsibility, but I had seen that there was a strong focus on NRLM in Siddharth Nagar, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So as a trainee, where did the district magistrate ask you what area would you like to work in?
No, sir, I was not asked. There was a strict schedule to be followed, like which departments I have to go and what works I have to perform for a particular day.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
When you become district magistrate of a district and a young IAS probationer comes, will you ask him what he would like to do? Or would you tell him, like you were told, that please go and work there?
So I would like to ask him, but would not force him, because I would know the strict requirements that he has to pass the training program. But I would like, if he would like to find some extra time and do something extra, I would aid him in every way.
Okay, tell me about, in this 1 year of work, what do you think has been your major achievement
So,
that you would like to talk about?
So my major achievement was the contribution in the conduct of Vidhan Sabha elections of the UP in 2022, sir.
So the Vidhan Sabha elections were conducted peacefully and without any irregularities. And
Yes, sir. And one of the things that I did was handle the GPS tracking part of all the EVMs, sir. And there was no controversies in Siddharth Nagar because all the EVMs were accounted for, and political parties were told beforehand about the movement of EVM, so that in the later part they cannot create any ruckus and say that we don't know.
And you are personally involved in making sure that.
Yes, sir. That communication is going back and forth.
Okay.
And so I was also in charge of the communication center on the day of the elections, so that all the news that are generating on social media, the district administration is able to put forward their view and declare them fake if they were unfounded. Sir.
I see you have a very extensive sort of, your list of extracurricular interests is very long, very impressive.
Yes.
So you play cricket and you play badminton, and you obviously are you won prizes and captain of cricket team, badminton, and so Bharat Scouts and Guides. That is very impressive. Tell me about the work of Bharat Scouts and Guides. What do they do?
So they are a movement who develop the life skills in youths of different ages, ranging from the age of 7 to the age of 25. So they teach them various skills that would be needed in day-to-day life, such as interacting with other people, how can we become useful to society, how to inculcate discipline in our life through various activities. Such as
interacting with other people is a skill that we all pick up, right?
Yes,
most of us at any.
Yes, sir. But the scouts pick up at an early age because they are put into camps where people from different regions of the country will come, and they have to stay in that camp together for 15 days. Sir. So we have to converse with every person and break that language barrier and mentality barrier that exists between two people, sir. And it also creates lifelong friendships, sir.
My last question. Have you heard of this controversy about the Adani group of companies?
Yes, sir.
So tell me, what are the allegations? Main 2 or 3 allegations against the Adani group of companies.
So the main allegation is that the group has done stock manipulation by taking the loans from the bank and round tripping it again back into the company through different channels, by putting inflated projections of the projects that they carry, sir. This way they are using that money again to raise even more loans, and thus the market capitalization of the company seems inflated, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So where is the irregularity in this?
So
I have got a company.
yes,
I take loan. When I go to a financial institution,
yes,
they will do some kind of a due diligence.
yes, sir.
On the basis of that due diligence, they will sanction that loan.
Yes, sir.
I'll use that loan.
Yes, sir.
And on the basis of that,
Yes,
valuation of my company will go up.
yes, sir.
Again, I go to the bank on the
Yes.
basis of this valuation.
Yes. But in this valuation, there is a component. So in this valuation, there is a component which is of the loan itself. So when the next time I am projecting my valuation, I should include that in my loans basket, which the Adani is not doing, sir. So each time the leverage ratio is getting decreased,
That was the job of the banking institution. Huh? That was not the job of the company.
Yes,
Where is the irregularity? Is it a violation of any law?
so in black and white, it is not a violation of any law, but hiding this disclosure will ultimately lead
This is what
to
I'm
loss
asking
of
you.
stakeholders.
He was under obligation to disclose this?
Yes, he was under obligation to disclose this.
To whom?
But the company was not under the obligation. The auditors of the company and the credit rating agencies were under the obligation to find and point out this disclosures, but they failed in their jobs, sir.
So what you are saying that the statutory auditor failed in discharging their responsibilities?
Yes, sir, the credit rating agencies failed in their responsibilities, sir.
So that means action can be taken against them and they can be debarred for work in future?
Yes, sir. If it is found out, they can be debarred.
All right. So it's a very serious thing, do you think?
Yes, sir. It is a very serious.
All right. Okay. So Shishir, why do you want to get into the IAS? What is the distinction between a provincial public service or civil service and the IAS? What is the difference?
So the work area of an IS officer is much larger compared to a PCS officer. So usually we are confined only to the implementation part of the specific departmental schemes. As an IS officer, we can bring convergence between various schemes and coordination between different departments. Also, sir, a state officer is confined to the geography of the state only. An IS officer can learn best practices from his batchmates and bring it into state, and also get opportunity to work at an all India level. And at
But why, if that is so, why everybody is criticizing IAS? Even the Prime Minister said that they cannot be expected to run the chemical plant and fly aircrafts and do the district administration also. Everybody is criticizing IAS. Many people say that IAS has failed this country. What are your views on that?
So I think in the 70 years of history, through the contribution of lots of the bureaucrats, we have reached a point where we have reached. There are some of the deficiencies in the systems which are rightly being pointed out, but calling out the whole services for that is
All
not right.
So let us be a little more specific. If you can tell me two biggest contribution of IAS as a service
Yes.
and two biggest failure of IAS as a service.
So the biggest contribution I would say is the judgments that IS officers make on the field about land disputes. Once the land disputes are settled in the revenue courts,
That is what you are saying is the achievement.
yes, sir, when it is
But
settled
even the
properly,
high courts are not very happy.
yes,
High court has said that this work has to be taken away from the IAS. They should be given to the judicial officers because they do not pay attention.
so in some cases they cannot find attention because they are overburdened, sir. For this we are
But do you
creating
really think that IAS officers are discharging their responsibility as collector in deciding cases?
yes, sir,
Pendency is coming down. Do you want to say?
sir, pendency is not coming down because the quantum of cases is moving very faster, sir. For it we are creating a different institution.
All right. So you are SDM in Siddharthnagar. How much time?
Currently, I am posted in
I know,
Varanasi.
now Varanasi. But earlier you were in Siddharthnagar.
Yes.
How much hours were being spent by the collector in deciding court cases, revenue cases?
So every day 2 to 3 hours.
Every day 2 to 3 hours. And how many cases were being disposed of? Finally.
So the target was 60 for the whole month, sir, and
No, I'm not talking about targets.
so
Achievements
75 to 80 cases were being decided, sir.
by the collector.
Yes, sir.
70 to 80.
Yes, sir.
सो अगर एक केस में 5 मिनट भी लगाए
Yes, sir.
तो 400 मिनट चाहिए 80 70 to 80 मान ले तो
Yes, sir.
you are saying he was spending 2 hours.
Yes, sir.
So how is that possible? 2 hours means only 120 minutes.
Yes, sir. 120 minutes across the month, sir. Every day for 5 days, sir. So it was a lot of time, sir. But the problem was that the 80 cases were being decided, but 200 cases were being registered every month, sir. So that's
Are you
why
sure? When
pendency
we
is
also
increasing.
worked as collector,
Yes, sir.
I never found that kind of a thing. Most of the collector, they do not spend enough time
Yes, sir.
in deciding revenue court cases. Hardly.
Yes.
Most of these work have been assigned to the ADMs
Yes, sir.
or the extra collector or whatever you call them,
Yes, sir.
and not the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer.
Yes, sir.
Most of the collectors, they do basically the VIP kind of a job or firefighting kind of a thing.
Yes, sir.
No?
Sir, they do those kinds of
All
jobs
right,
too,
okay.
but there are categorization of.
So this was one achievement. What is the second big achievement of IAS?
So the second big achievement of IAS was bringing running all the schemes properly so that beneficiaries can get the benefits of the welfare schemes that are being run in the districts. monitoring each department and ensuring that every official does his work, sir.
But is this sentiment being shared by the politician?
So this sentiment is not being shared by the politicians, sir, because they feel that the services should have done more, and there is a feeling that there is kind of a blame shifting. So the
So,
failure of
all
the
right, okay. So, I take 2 points of yours. One, you said that their biggest achievement is deciding court cases, revenue court cases. Second, you said that their achievement was primarily for the implementation and taking the benefits of various programs and policies to the targeted sector.
yes.
This is one. All right. What are the two main failures of IAS?
So I think the main failure was of accessibility, sir. There, if we ask the common public, they would feel a kind of hesitation or a barrier in meeting the officers on the daily basis or sharing their problems with them.
So, in case of, let's take again Siddharth Nagar.
Yes, sir.
How much time was being spent by the collector in meeting people, everyone, commoners?
So every day from 10 to 12, it is mandated that the district collector.
No, that is mandated. But how much time was being spent on meeting people?
So in those times, the people can come and meet in the office, and daily I think 13 to 20 people were coming in the office to meet the collectors. I think that is a big change which will increase.
Suppose what
the
happens? Suppose somebody wants to meet him after office hours. Was he meeting people over there?
So in exceptional cases, but
Only in
not as
exceptional
a
cases?
practice, sir.
That was not the practice.
Yes.
All right. So you are saying that the one failure was accessibility to people.
Yes.
All right. So how are you going to change that? You will also go follow the same process.
Yes, sir.
That as per the mandate, you will meet them for 2 hours in the morning.
Yes. But if I'm attentive during those 2 hours, so whenever I'm meeting someone, if I'm giving them my undivided attention and solving the problem of that one person, then a message will go down that the officers listen to us. Then so slowly.
So what you are saying that the collectors, though they are meeting people, but they are not there. They are not putting their heart into it.
So sometimes there is a lack of empathy between the officer and the
Sometimes
people.
that's why I said generalized.
Yes.
It was a general question. What are the biggest two biggest failures of IAS?
Yes.
One you said accessibility. All right. Okay. What is second?
So the second biggest failure was thinking that we know the best and we can guide the
So can you give me any example of that?
Sir, in one case, what happened, sir, that the voting percentage in Siddharth Nagar was very low, sir. So in the previous election, what we had done a very big campaign, sir, about increasing the voting percentage, like a media campaign of advertising of vote, but the voting share didn't increase. So in that case, what happened? We didn't go for the finding out the reason why the voting was not happening. We just assumed that the people were not willing to come out. So in this year, when we tried to find out what was the reason, we found that there is a huge migration of male population for jobs towards Mumbai and other places, sir. So those kind of marketing campaigns in villages won't work, sir, because they will not know. So
This does not mean that he was thinking that he knew everything. The collector knew everything.
Yes. So if the feedback of local people were taken, or if we would have tried to find out the real problem,
Do you think?
it would have been solved, sir.
Do you want to say that though the feedback was given, but the collector did not accept those suggestions?
So I'm not aware whether the feedback.
So how
was
can you
given,
come
sir.
to that conclusion?
So in other cases also we see that a due attention is not paid in finding the source of the problem. So we come with a notion that we know everything
Like
about
give me
that
an example.
district and
Give
we
me another
impose that.
example.
So like in the educational sector, sir, the bureaucracy was focusing only on changing the infrastructure of the schools, sir. But slowly the education department has turned into the department of teachers, sir. But there was very less focus on the students. We should have tried to focus on the learning outcomes from the beginning, sir. So now we are trying to focus on the right thing, that is the development of students itself.
That was the job of education department or the collector?
So it was the job of education department, but in education department also ultimately IAS officers are sitting as
So
secretaries.
this is what I'm saying. So that means the departmental head or the secretary of school education, he or she did not think about it. She was focusing primarily on the school infrastructure
Yes.
or the teachers.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
So in that case, what should have been done was
Okay.
to go down to the level and find
All
the
right.
real source of the problem.
In your reply to my esteemed colleague, you said something about employment.
Yes, sir.
You said that the biggest challenge was employment.
Yes, sir.
So what is your suggestion? What should we do to create employment opportunities?
So,
Give me concrete 2-3 examples, 2-3 suggestions.
So Siddharthnagar is famous for its Kala Namak rice. Sir. So the Kala Namak rice is produced, but there are no mills in the district itself. Sir. So we can constitute small scale mills in different part of Siddharthnagar.
But it must be getting milled somewhere.
Yes, sir. It is.
जहाँ जा रहा है वहाँ पर एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी क्रिएट हुई है.
Yes, sir.
इट्स ओनली ए डिस्प्लेसमेंट. वहाँ की जगह पे अब सिद्धार्थनगर में होगा.
Yes, sir.
So there is no net addition in the employment.
Yes, sir. The people of Siddharthnagar will get the job, and
No, that's fine. But this is only with migration kind of.
Yes, sir.
Today employment opportunities have already been created maybe in the adjoining district. But thereafter it will be created only in the Siddharthnagar.
So to increase the employment in Siddharthnagar, we can also focus on tourism, sir. There are Buddhist stupas where it is said that Buddha used to spend his childhood years, sir. If we develop those places and connect it with the Buddhist circuit, sir,
But how long will it take? Do you think it will create huge employment opportunities for Siddharthnagar?
Sir, in a small amount of time, it can create thousands of jobs, which will be a very
All right,
big
my
number
last
for-
question, Shishir.
Yes.
If I ask you to compare Devariya with Balia, how will you do that?
So I will compare it with on the indicators of health, education, connectivity, and other indicators. Sir. I would what I gather from my the datas that I have read about various districts is that Devariya has a better literacy rate than Balia. It also
How do you,
has-
I mean, are you sure?
yes, sir.
What is the literacy rate in Balia and what is the literacy
in
rate
Balia it is 73.8%, sir, and in Devariya it is above 76%, sir.
Okay.
And
So
sir-
marginal bump.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what else?
And so the second thing is Devariya has better road infrastructure compared to Balia, sir. The same state highway in Devariya is well maintained, sir, but the same state highway number 1 in Balia has potholes on it, sir, which affects the traffic route and passenger communication. Sir. Also, sir, in Devariya, the agro processing industries are now starting to be built, sir. But in Balia, there is no such initiative as of yet, sir. So Devariya is progressing little bit faster than Balia.
But why so? Why not many industries in Balia, but there are industries in Devariya? Why?
So I think this happens because Balia is one of the border districts
the
that
case
are
with
on
the-
the border, sir.
So is the case with Devariya. Devariya is also bordering.
Yes, sir.
Bihar.
Yes, sir. But Devariya
And
is
moreover, Devariya is in the north, almost bordering Nepal.
Sir, Devariya is closer to Gorakhpur, which is a bigger center, sir.
So Balia is closer to Banaras.
Yes, sir. But jobs are shifting from Gorakhpur to Devariya, sir, but it is not happening in the case of Balia from Varanasi
But why
to
so?
Balia, sir.
You said they are not enough employment. No, not employment. You said there are not enough industries in
Industries.
Balia. I said why?
So I think they.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, Shishir, thank you very much.
Thank
Our interaction with you is over.
Okay.
Now is the time to give the feedback.
Yes, sir.
Shishir, you are very good candidate and you know your job quite well. Your answers are quite good. And you are from IIT Dhanbad and then you are already in the civil services, state civil services of Uttar Pradesh. You have got good experience. So everything goes in your favor. But I would point out some areas of weaknesses. Somehow, many times I found that you had to reply to every question.
Yes, sir.
And it gives an impression as if many of these answers are made up answers.
Yes, sir.
It does not reflect the genuineness of those answers
Yes, sir.
and the conviction of those answers.
Yes, sir.
So you have to go a little deeper, and if you do not know the answer of a particular question, just say, I don't know, rather than trying to answer every question.
Okay, sir.
Because whatever I asked or my colleagues asked, I found that you always gave an answer.
Yes.
And somehow, at least to me, it appeared that you were trying to take advantage of your command over the language and give some kind of a reply which would appear to be convincing. But if somebody goes deeper into the subject, it would appear that that may not be so. As you said, like challenges. First you said court cases.
Yes,
I would say disastrous.
Yes, sir.
Most of the collectors do not spend time, or most of the IAS officers do not spend time on deciding court cases. And the government, not only the government, on the basis of the advice of the High Court, Chief Justice High Court, the government had almost decided to shift all the court cases, revenue court cases, to the judiciary. But thereafter, because of some intervention, it was not done. And from my real experience as collector, as SDM, as ADM, as commissioner, I can tell you that only 10% IAS officers are spending some time, decent time, on deciding court cases.
Yes, sir.
So that is one. Secondly, what is the contribution of IAS? Not in these small things. You have to look deeper. To keep the country united, their main contribution is to keep the country united.
Okay, sir.
Because it's a little unique kind of subject. They work in the state, they work in the central government, and they have to take interest of the central government as well as the state government while working in the state as well as while working in the center.
Yes, sir.
So they may be little inefficient, but one single most important contribution is to keep the country united.
Yes, sir.
Khalistan alag ho sakta tha, kahin kuch aur alag ho sakta tha. But in spite of everything, this is one. Secondly, whenever there was a crisis, and especially the internal crisis, they ensured that some good, reasonable solution was found out and implemented. Whenever, in last 75 years, if you look around, jitne countries ne bhi hamare saath independently, they are struggling somewhere.
Yes, sir.
There must be some, in spite of the fact that we are highly pluralistic and there is huge diversity in this country. Language is हर 200 किलोमीटर पे language different हो जाती है या 400 किलोमीटर हो जाती है. In spite of that, we have been able to move forward.
Yes, sir.
So these, and the failure is the kind of leadership which was expected from the IAS officer, that is not being exhibited. We become very pliable kind of thing. We do not do our homework thoroughly. We don't want to learn anything. As you said, वो सोचता है कि सब कुछ हमको आता, तो we become very arrogant. So because learning is a continuous process. जिस दिन मर रहे हैं उस दिन तक भी हमको learn करना है. But IAS also they stopped learning, and that is counterproductive. So basically, the leadership, and then they are not innovative. They do not decide things timely. So a whole lot of other things are there. But biggest achievement is to keep the country united and to take care of all challenges, all crises. So अब जरा उस पर थोड़ा ध्यान दो कि क्या है. जैसे मानो आपसे कहा कि हाउ डू यू कंपेयर, सबसे पहले कंपेरिजन होना चाहिए योर साइज ऑफ द डिस्ट्रिक्ट. यू लुक इनटू द मैक्रो थिंग. अगर आप जो बोलो चाइना और इंडिया को कैसे आप कंपेयर करोगे, देन पॉपुलेशन, देन द काइंड ऑफ इकोनॉमी, दे कितने इकोनॉमी का साइज क्या है उसका, एंड देन अदर थिंग, not the smaller thing, the road network and things like that kind of thing.
Yes.
All right. So I wish you all the best. You are an outstanding candidate, Shishir. Yes. But try to have very genuine kind of a answer, number one, and then you have to show some passion. You do not exhibit passion. और passion भी तभी आएगा जब आप genuinely बोलोगे ना कोई चीज़, तो आप बोलोगे अरे नहीं मैं तो ऐसा करके दिखा सकता. You must have the burning desire to set the entire state or the district on fire. मैं ये सब करके दिखा दूँगा.
Yes, sir.
That is not being exhibited.
Yes, sir.
So you'll do extremely well, I'm sure. But look into these small things. So,
Shishir, you're an excellent candidate, and but as the Chairman Saab ne kaha, put in a little more energy and passion into your answers.
Yes.
That you feel about the issues that you're talking about. It is something that troubles you. If women are oppressed or if children are not getting midday meals in schools, it is something that troubles you, and you are out there to correct these problems in the system. So put some energy in your responses. I was very impressed by your, some of your answers relating to your experience in the field. Not all, and the chairman pointed out where you were on very shaky ground, because I think if you asked 100 people today what is the biggest contribution of the IAS, perhaps one will say it is it is sort of their work in deciding land disputes.
Yes.
So those answers just don't hang together. But I liked your answer, for example, on the work that you did for ensuring smooth conduct of elections, and then for ensuring better turnout of voters.
Yes.
And then you sort of gave some examples, and so those kind of answers were good, convincing. So you will do very well. I think in the sense I got, of course, Professor Saab batayenge, also on your training as a petroleum engineer, your Dhanbad mein kya ho raha hai, coal, etc. You seemed on firm ground. But get some energy in your answers, and remember that as a serving officer, again, expectations will be higher from you.
Yes, sir.
And then you are from IIT. No, IIT Dhanbad.
Yes, sir.
Plus, there may be questions on energy also, as he said.
Yes.
Petroleum energy, hydrogen. आज के पेपर में that hydrogen trains चलाने जा रहे हैं. Do you think it is viable? How it is going to work? Kind of thing. They are coming out with some tender on hydrogen trains.
आपके सवाल थे, sorry, you worked with Care in India.
Yes,
be
yes,
ready
yes.
with the treatment of Care in India. Someone will ask you, what is
Yes.
the Care in India case? How did we mishandle it? What is the prospective? Whatever. The whole controversy around it.
Yes, sir.
We got a bad name. So I'm sure you're sort of aware of all that, but just flagging it.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. So Shishir, you live up to your name. Calm, quiet, ठंडे हैं आप.
Yes.
Don't get fluttered easily. But वो कुछ answers impression ऐसा पड़ता है कि आप made out थे. Of course, you reeled out whatever little time I spent with you. आपने around mathematics, around petroleum engineering, you explained right in the beginning the fractional distillation admirably, but थोड़ा और ज़्यादा किया जा सकता था उसको. और administered price mechanism पे you drew almost blank.
Yes.
Coming from petroleum background, possibly. Of course, your subsequent experience has been in administration and also in IT, marketing analyst.
Yes.
But there are a lot of good things going on with you. You're pretty grounded, sincere हैं आप. थोड़ा सा और comprehensive answers दीजिए. और otherwise आपको बहुत there are a lot of good things going with you. Interview कब है आपका?
So 13th March को. 13th March.
करीब 2 हफ्ते हैं.
हाँ 2 हफ्ते हैं, तो इसलिए बस just keep on.
आपका last time in 2019, why couldn't you make it to the final list?
So I scored less marks in mains and interview both, sir.
इंटरव्यू में कितने मार्क्स आए थे आपको?
So 154 marks.
ज़्यादा आना चाहिए आपको. तो इसलिए वो अगेन ये सारे इनपुट जो है ना दिस विल हेल्प यू.
एंड इस बार आपने रिटर्न पहले से बेटर किया वो 19 से?
Yes, I feel I have done well, sir.
Alright, so I think you will be there in the final list.
So I hope so, sir.
Yeah.
You'll do well.
Best wishes to you.
All the best. Take care.